My wife has been gone for weeks and confessed to cheating on me for 4 years because she was bored. Now she wants to come back. I'm feeling pretty lost in this situation and could really use some insight. We've been married for 17 years and we have 3 daughters aged 15, 13, and 11. We've been together since high school, around 23 years now. I don't have much to go on, but here's what I do know. My wife came home from work 3 days ago, clearly upset and in a rush. She packed an overnight bag and left, and she had to work the next day. Our oldest daughter was home when it happened and saw her. She tried to talk to her, but she was just crying, completely distraught, and didn't say a word. It seemed like she was almost in a panic. Now she's not responding to any of our texts or calls. I reached out to her parents immediately, and they got back to me saying that my wife is safe with them and asked for some patience and understanding. That's all I got. I also tried to get in touch with her sister, brother, and a close work friend of hers. Her brother claimed he had no idea, and her colleague mentioned she was at work in the morning but disappeared by lunch. That was 3 days ago, and that's all the information I have. Just 3 days without any word from my wife, not even a message about the kids, nothing at all. No one is giving us any updates. Here I am, juggling everything with my 3 girls, trying to cope without her. The kids keep asking what's happening, wanting to know about mom, and all I can tell them is that she's with grandma and grandpa. We're expected to just sit tight and be all chill about it. Honestly, I can't shake this intense desire to just grab the kids and make a spontaneous drive over there. It's only a 3-hour trip, and this waiting game is driving me nuts. The kids are convinced we had some massive blowout and are splitting up, but that's so not what's happening. We never argue, and the kids are aware of that. I'm feeling a bit lost and could really use some logical insights. My emotions are all over the place as I navigate things on my own. If something serious happened, wouldn't your partner or family be the first to know? Could it be that some past issues have resurfaced? I just feel that if I were in that situation, my wife would be the first person I'd turn to for help. We're completely in the dark. It's all so confusing and I feel lost. Here I am just hanging out with the girls, and we're all just as clueless as ever, with no one giving us any answers. I'm feeling a mix of worry, fear, anger, and pretty much every emotion you can think of in this situation. Can anyone offer a reasonable explanation? Why would someone just disappear from their family like this? By the way, I'm still getting the hang of this platform, so sorry if I'm a bit lost. Not really much to share, and I'm a bit lost on how to link my previous post. Just feeling a bit uncertain about the whole process. Last night was pretty rough. I barely got any sleep. Apologies for the brief update. I won't be on the computer much today, but I did catch up on all the posts from yesterday and late into the night, and I'll get to the responses later. Just to share what I know, my father-in-law didn't reach out last night, so I took the step of contacting the police for a wellness check, as many of you recommended. This has led to a whirlwind of problems that I won't delve into, but my wife has been unfaithful. It's been going on for at least 2 years, probably even longer. Turns out, everyone was right. So it turns out the other guy had a heart attack on Tuesday and sadly died that night. My mother-in-law definitely knows about it, and it seems like my sister-in-law does too, and they've been keeping it under wraps. Meanwhile, I still haven't heard from my wife, not a word to me or the girls. I'm really trying to keep this under wraps for the time being. Honestly, I'm at a loss for what to do next. That's all I've got, and it's almost too much to handle. I appreciate all the support and advice you've given me. Feeling a bit lost with this news, but it is what it is. If you're the praying type, I could really use some good vibes for me and everyone involved. Update 2, a few people suggested this place, so I just signed up and have been diving into various posts whenever I can. It's usually at night when the day's madness fades, and that's when my mind kicks in, leading me into these waves of depression. Then comes the intense anger. Sometimes both hit me at once. Sleep feels like a distant dream, and I end up moving through the day in a daze. I'm working on understanding all the shorthand. I suppose Friday was my turning point. My wife was involved in what I first believed to be a 2-year affair, but it now appears it may have lasted even longer, and the person she was unfaithful with was someone she had known for some time. Unfortunately, he recently passed away from a heart attack, which led to this revelation. I'm still searching for more details with the assistance of my oldest daughter. There are many aspects I'm not yet prepared to share. I didn't intend to keep sharing about my situation, but the outpouring of support and advice has been surprisingly healing. It's tough to realize that so many others are going through similar struggles. I truly empathize with all of you. I had meetings with 2 different lawyers over the past couple of days to explore my options, and I've reached out to several therapy providers, but the wait times are really long in my area. I'm doing my best to follow the advice I've received, like steering clear of alcohol, though I've never been a drinker, focusing on self-care and trying to work out. I'd say I'm in pretty good shape for my age, but it's tough to muster the energy to exercise at the moment. I get that a lot of you might want to know more, the who's, what's, when's, and why's, but I'm just not in a place to dive into all that right now. It feels like every day brings a new explosion of chaos, and I'm really just seeking advice on one thing to help me start getting some sleep. My wife meant the world to me. She was my best friend since high school and the mother of my 3 beautiful daughters. Honestly, it's like we had this whole world of inside jokes and secret handshakes, and now it's just vanished. Everything we built together, all those milestones and laughs, feels like a distant memory, and it really brings me down. It's devastating. It feels like everything we shared was meaningless to her, and now my future is bleak without her. Then the how could you thoughts start to invade my mind, and I find myself consumed by this intense, unrelenting anger. I let out a frustrated scream into my pillow and hit the mattress until my arms feel like they're on fire. It's such a draining cycle. I only manage to sleep because I'm completely wiped out, but then I wake up abruptly and the mental battles start all over again. Any bit of energy I have left goes to my girls, who are doing their best to look after me as if they were the ones in charge. It feels really unfair to them, doesn't it? I'm curious, how did everyone cope with sleep after discovering the affair? How did you deal with the quiet and the loneliness at night, just you and your thoughts? I've come to the conclusion that aside from my daughters, getting good sleep has to be my top priority in all of this. But I'm really struggling. I'm hoping you can share some advice. Thanks, everyone. Update 3, sorry for still being a bit of a newbie here. Not entirely sure how much I should go over my situation again. It's been just over a week since my D-Day, and I've discovered that my wife's affair lasted more than 4 years. Still no clear timeline, though. It probably began on an emotional level before escalating to something physical. I'm wondering how the pandemic and lockdowns influenced this situation, though I might not find out. Anyway, yesterday my in-laws dropped by unexpectedly to see their grandkids, and WW has been staying at their place since this whole ordeal started. It's honestly ridiculous, considering they only took about 15 minutes to say hi to my wife and my 3 daughters before pulling me aside for a private chat. As you can imagine, it turned into quite the lengthy discussion, but I won't go into all the details here. To sum it up, my wife wants to return home, but she's worried about the consequences of her choices and is scared to confront what she's done. Her parents really put in the effort to figure out if I was thinking about divorce. They dedicated a lot of time trying to persuade me to forgive my wife and work on our marriage. It was obvious they felt a mix of shame and embarrassment, but it was also clear they wanted my wife out of their home. It was a pretty chill and respectful conversation. I have to admit I wasn't completely honest and said I wasn't sure about my future plans, even though I'm definitely planning on getting a divorce. But I think if I let her in on that, I won't get the real story from my wife. I might not ever get the chance, but I really hope she can sit down with me and lay it all out. After 17 years of marriage and being together since high school, with 3 kids and a lifetime of memories, I just want her to look me in the eyes and share everything that's on her mind. I want my kids to see that I offered her a chance to explain, that I allowed her the opportunity to apologize, and work through things like adults. I'm really trying to pick the right path to set a good example for them. But I can't help but wonder if I'm going about it the wrong way. So it turns out I can't legally keep my wife from coming home, as my lawyer pointed out. If she's going to come back, there's nothing I can do to stop it. Honestly, I really don't want that to happen right now. My girls and I have finally found a good rhythm, so I decided to put forth a request that I thought might be impossible for some time. I told my wife that she could come home if and when she sat down with me face to face, looked me in the eyes, and shared every detail about her affair from beginning to end, answering all my questions without holding back or being dishonest. I also asked that she sit down with the girls to apologize in person and address their questions as well. Since they already know, it just seems fair. So she can totally come back whenever she feels like it, no strings attached. But if she's hesitant to face us, could that be something we could use to our advantage? I mean, is that really a bad thing? I'm not trying to be sneaky or anything, just genuinely want to avoid jumping into living together right away if there's a way to hold off. Plus, there's that 90-day waiting period for divorce in our state anyway. Her return is pretty much a given. We'll both have to get back to work at some point, and life will keep moving forward despite this chaos. I just want to take my time so I can plan and work on my mental and emotional well-being first. My wife has been reaching out to her friends, insisting she doesn't want a divorce, and constantly apologizing to them. They've shared the messages with me, and she inquires about me every day. The weight of her actions is clearly affecting her, especially over the past few days. How should I handle this situation? Was my request unreasonable? It seems like she might be returning home sooner rather than later. I'm feeling assured about my direction right now. This was something I anticipated. My main focus is to make the best choices for my daughters and then for myself as we navigate this moving forward. I really appreciate all the encouragement, advice, and support from everyone. So here's update 4. Sorry if it's a bit anticlimactic and lengthy, but I just need to share. It's been a rough weekend, but my wife came home yesterday. This week had a fair bit of tension leading up to it. Normally, when she walks through the door, I greet her with a hug and a kiss, but this time it felt so painfully awkward. She even approached me to offer a hug before saying anything, but I just turned away. It's wild, like nothing even happened. Once she got comfortable, I asked her to share what was going on, but she just kept saying she's not ready. We had a phone call earlier this week, and it was the same deal. I made it clear that the only way she could come back home was if she truly cared enough to explain her absence of nearly 3 weeks. Yet all she could say was that she wasn't ready to talk about it. I really had to hold back from yelling, so I took a few deep breaths to steady myself. But after a series of long, awkward silences, I couldn't help but blurt out that she had been having an affair with her coworker for over 4 years, intended to leave me for him, completely ghosted her family, and now just waltzed back in without meeting the one condition I set. So I dropped the bomb and said I wanted a divorce. This is where it started to get really strange, right? The way she carried herself and her expression said it all. She had no clue I was aware of her affair. Her eyes went wide, and then she just froze in the kitchen, staring at the floor, completely silent and unmoving. I was ready for just about anything except this. I thought there might be an emotional outburst, a heartfelt confession, or even some angry accusations thrown my way. I imagined a serious conversation, but not this. We stood in the kitchen for what felt like an eternity, completely silent. It was honestly the weirdest moment I've ever gone through. She obviously was at a loss for words, just like I was. I had gone through all of your suggestions and advice regarding my situation. I even took notes, practiced in front of a mirror, and got ready for every possible outcome of this confrontation. Except for this one. I finally made the decision to lay out everything I knew about her affair. It might have been a bit foolish. I went ahead and shared all the details I had, even throwing in some of my own guesses about various aspects, like how she met the other person, her sister's role, and what happened during COVID, among other things. She just kept her eyes glued to the floor the whole time. My frustration grew as I realized she wasn't saying or doing anything, but I made a real effort to keep my cool and avoid yelling or being inappropriate. After I managed to calm down, we were met with yet another long, uncomfortable silence. Anger faded into sadness as I came to terms with everything. I gently asked her what I did to make her pull away. Did she ever love me? Was he really worth it? She remained silent, completely unresponsive, just nothing at all from her. There were no tears, no apologies, no shouting, no explanations, just her standing there with her head down. It was all so empty. This pain, it felt even worse than that day. I found myself frozen, just watching her, unsure if I could even move. Then things took a turn for the worse. Naturally, our daughters were listening in on the whole situation. I can't believe how foolish I've been. I've poured so much effort into prioritizing their needs these last few weeks, but in that moment of confrontation with my wife, I completely lost sight of where they were. Our oldest daughter came barreling down the stairs, clearly furious and letting it all out. In response, my wife dashed upstairs and locked the bedroom door. And that's the situation we're dealing with right now. I heard my wife crying most of the night until I finally fell asleep. Our youngest is the only one who has tried to talk to her. The rest of us have been keeping our distance. If I can muster the courage, I plan to suggest she stay with her sister until we can finalize the divorce. But this is still her home as well, and it's going to be really uncomfortable if we all have to live together like this. I completely misjudged my wife, and everyone else was right. I was mistaken about our years together, the memories we created, and those pivotal moments. I truly believed she would come to me, pleading for forgiveness. I was so sure she would finally confront everything from the past 4 years and reveal the truth to ease her conscience. This woman actually went back to a farmer's market after realizing she was given $10 too much in change, but apparently I'm not worth that effort. Maybe I never was. So what now? Today was super uncomfortable at home. The girls and I attempted to keep things normal like we had for the past 2 weeks, but clearly that's not happening. I'm really just looking to skip ahead through all of this, the divorce, the uncomfortable talks, the fights that seem unavoidable, and all the drama. For those who've had to live with their WS, how did you handle it? Especially when kids are involved? I understand this is only the start. I keep seeing posts that say it gets better, but I feel like I'm miles away from that point. I feel like I'm on the edge of losing it at any moment. I'm really pushing myself to stay strong for the girls, but I honestly don't know how I'm going to manage this for 3 months. Plus, school is going to start up again long before any of this gets resolved. I suppose this is where I'm at now. Thanks to everyone for showing such concern for my situation. I'm not sure if the toughest times are still to come or if they've already passed, but I truly value any support you can provide as I navigate this next chapter. Update 5. Things are rough and they've been tough since my partner returned home and I found out about her affair. I've been doing my best to keep it together for my daughters. I do my best to say and think the right things, but tonight I have to face reality. Like many of you share regularly, emotions come in waves and I got hit hard tonight, losing my composure a bit. The divorce is filed, but my spouse still hasn't hired a lawyer. I'm trying to be patient and handle this delicately as I'm starting to see a glimmer of hope for an uncontested divorce that we can manage ourselves. But after tonight, I'm feeling uncertain. We've been living together during the week, and WBW heads to her sister's on Friday nights, coming back Sunday nights since she works nearby. However, her sister lives an hour away without traffic. Lately, it's been a routine of mostly keeping our distance, as the girls and I try to maintain some normalcy while Lo tends to keep to herself. There are casual interactions each evening, but my oldest daughter and WW aren't on speaking terms after some heated arguments. It's probably for the best at this point. Recently, I've been paying close attention to the advice I've received and the things I've read. I've been putting a lot of effort into my self-discipline around my wife. Even though it requires all my strength and willpower, I've found myself being short and indifferent during our brief conversations, though I remain polite and respectful. But tonight was different. For the past couple of Fridays, she has come home from work, gathered a few things, and left for her sister's for the weekend before I even get home from work. But not tonight. She was in the kitchen waiting for me when I got home. I thought about just walking past, but she gently took my hand and asked if this is how I was going to treat her, just because she wasn't ready to discuss her affair, which, by the way, is the first time she's even mentioned it since everything exploded almost a month ago. I really did my best to hold back and just walk away, but with our daughters not being home, the anger just bubbled up inside me. I ended up pouring out all my frustrations, every single hurt and pain I had been carrying. I can't even remember how long I went on. It felt like time just slipped away. I definitely raised my voice a bit, got pretty animated and loud. I just reached a point where I had to break down and share how broken I feel and the pain I endure daily. It was everything I've been holding back, all the torment I've been experiencing. Honestly, I could write a whole novel if I tried to capture everything I expressed. Once I got into it, there was no turning back. Naturally, I ended up crying and feeling all the feels again. I was so incredibly frustrated with myself afterward. I had been making such great progress. Ugh, seriously? She really got under my skin this time. I totally saw it coming, but I still let it happen. Absolutely revolting. This has been simmering for some time, and I can only express so much in the waiting area. And for the first time, WBW really let it all out and got emotional. It was shocking to see them sobbing uncontrollably. Honestly, it felt a bit satisfying to witness her in pain, just like I was. I wish I could say I didn't care, but there was a strange comfort in seeing her finally crack. It's like there's a glimpse of empathy in her after all. It was unexpected how she kept mumbling apologies while I was losing it. She was really crying hard, and all she could manage to say was that she was sorry. Eventually, I just walked out of the kitchen before she could gather herself to say anything more. I asked her to leave me alone. So that was the situation. She hung around the kitchen for a bit before heading off to her sister's place. The girls got home about 30 minutes later, and it was clear something was off. I wasn't ready to discuss it, and honestly, I don't think they need to be involved in this. The two youngest have been improving, and I really don't want to jeopardize that. Plus, sharing this with my oldest would only escalate things, which is the last thing I want. This situation is so frustrating, and I can't stand it. I should have kept my composure and just ignored my WWW. Walked right by her without a word. I'm not sure. Looking back, it seems like she was attempting to bring up her affair, but struggled to find the right words, and clearly didn't make much progress since I lost it. I've begun to genuinely worry about her. I know some might judge me for this, but I really don't want her to get hurt. She's been cut off and left to her own devices, with almost everyone walking away from her. You might argue she brought this on herself, and that's fair, but at the end of the day, she's still a person and the mother of my children. It's a tough blow for me, and I'm feeling pretty let down by my own choices. Apologies for yet another lengthy vent session. I ended up calling my brother to let it all out as well. Honestly, I'm planning to reset things on Monday. I'm just a person, and it felt somewhat relieving to express my frustrations, but now I'm definitely feeling that wave of regret. Should I reach out to my wife or just let things be? I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now, but I appreciate everyone who has been there for me, offering support and advice during this tough time. We've all started therapy, which is a step in the right direction, but this situation is just so challenging. Update 6. I know many of you have checked in on me, and I truly value your concern. You're all spot on. Things really aren't looking good, and I haven't had any time to get online. I thought about taking a break from everything, but this week has me backtracking like crazy. It's just been a rough time. My wife has been all over me this week, acting super nice and constantly saying sorry for her affair. She's been crying and trying to get close, even knocking on my door at night to chat. I've tuned her out a bit, but I've engaged when I felt like it. I reached my breaking point with her on Wednesday night and told her to just leave me alone. Then last night, things took another turn. It's been just over a month since my soon-to-be ex-wife returned home after her affair fell apart. And as we've settled into this awkward living situation, she came into my room after the kids were asleep and asked to have a private conversation. It felt different from how she had been approaching me all week. I resisted at first, but eventually we ended up in the garage, sitting in my car to avoid another confrontation in front of the kids. Sorry for the long read, she shared her side of the story with me. We spent nearly 3 hours out there. I'm not sure how much I should reveal. I was awake all night, hearing her cry for hours on end, unable to get any rest. I felt overwhelmed with emotions, cycling through tears and anger, fighting the urge to confront her. It's been a roller coaster, and I might take a bit to reply to anyone. I just needed to vent and hopefully find some rest. The constant apologies and pleas for another chance from my partner tonight haven't made things any easier either. I had to step away for a bit just to escape her presence. It's really tough being around her, so she was introduced to her AP by her sister long before COVID, around 5 years ago. Supposedly, there were no romantic intentions at first, but he was a higher up at a company she was interested in and now works for, and he helped her get in the door. Her motivation to switch jobs wasn't tied to her affair, but once she made the move, she clearly had added motivation. After landing the new position, the affair partner started to flirt with her. It began with texting, then progressed to pictures and more texting, ultimately becoming physical just before COVID struck. She opened up to her sister and intended to be honest with me at that moment, but ultimately chose to keep it to herself. My wife mentioned that she cut off contact with her affair partner shortly after, but once the lockdowns eased, he reached out again, and she started communicating with him once more. Eventually, the physical aspect of the affair reignited when businesses resumed operations. She insists that she ended the affair a couple of times due to guilt, yet she kept returning to him. It just goes on and on, doesn't it? She really went all out with the details, even prepared a whole 5-page packet of handwritten notes outlining her affair timeline, reading through it all while answering questions. She spun a web of lies about weekend trips with friends, work travel, traffic jams, family issues, shopping trips, and so much more. Just as I thought, and the list was long. So many lies that I took her every word at face value, never doubting anything, but they were just a cover to be with him. Hearing it all only made me feel worse. Everyone was right about that. Her affection stayed pretty consistent throughout everything, which is different from what I often see. The intimacy shifted a bit, but it wasn't alarming. Ultimately, she confessed to falling for someone else and wanting a future with him. He was older, divorced or single, and offered her lavish gifts, trips, and everything he could shower her with. She began dreaming of breaking free from her family obligations and described the excitement of being with him as irresistible, expressing how dull she found the everyday grind of family life. She was strikingly open, deeply emotional, and appeared to be sincere. I completely broke down and started crying halfway through. It was painful to hear everything, as you can imagine. After she finished her confession, she expressed how much she loves me and always has, saying she's ready to do anything and everything to try and save our marriage. Many of you saw this coming. It all felt so fake to me, like she was putting on a show. I've been with her for more than half my life, and I can sense when she's not being real. Maybe I'm off base, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. However, I managed to keep my cool better than I did last week. I still got a bit heated and said some things I probably shouldn't have, including a dig about how her AP was juggling multiple women and she was just one of many he could easily discard. That really seemed to hit her hard. I've replayed this moment in my mind a million times, anticipating when she'd finally come clean. All the clever comebacks I could have thrown her way, or the things I could say to sting her back. So many responses that escaped me in the heat of the moment the other night. But there was one question I was determined to ask. If AP was still around and she had to choose between him and me, who would it be? She hesitated and muttered that it wasn't fair. I pushed for an answer, and eventually she said she'd obviously pick me. I told her that her hesitation was why I was choosing to end our marriage, as she was lying once more. She broke down in tears, and that was the last thing she said. We lingered in the car for a bit. She continued to cry, but I was exhausted. I reiterated that we were getting a divorce and emphasized that for the sake of our daughters, we needed to maintain a civil relationship and be good parents, fully present in their lives. After everything she put me through, I expressed my hope that she would be decent enough to handle the divorce fairly and amicably, as that would show she truly cared. The last thing I said to her was borrowed from somewhere online. Just to clarify, I'm not someone who seeks to be petty, and I didn't intend to hurt her on purpose. It felt like the perfect conclusion, but I genuinely meant every word and action. I leaned in, kissed her on the forehead, and told her I would have loved her forever. Then I stepped out of the car and went to bed. That was it. Naturally, I couldn't sleep last night, and here I am struggling to find rest again tonight. I'm not really sure what's next. Her chance to fight the divorce has passed, which is a small relief, but I still haven't spoken to my lawyer. I catch myself crying again and slipping back into that mix of sadness and anger. Last night was tough to process, and honestly, I could have done without all the revelations. She might have fabricated the whole thing, but it aligns so well with the pieces I've been gathering over the past month. So that's where I'm at for now. This feels like an endless cycle. I have a couple of decent days, start to regain my strength, and then bam, something else hits. It's like time is playing tricks on me. It feels both like months and just days. Anyway, I'm going to attempt to get some sleep now. Picture this. The person you adore more than anyone else, the one you've shared your heart and your first kiss with, confesses that she was unfaithful for more than 4 years simply because she felt unfulfilled. It wasn't about falling out of love or growing apart, and there were no relationship issues or a dead bedroom involved. It all came down to her being bored. Not sure if that makes the situation better or worse. Appreciate you taking the time to read and lend a hand. It's been a rough couple of nights. really rough.